Okay, guys, now we are connected, and I'm going to bring in Moyele Shore. And now, just give us 1 second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have in the house Omoyele Shore himself. How are you, Mr. President?
Hey, Dr. Chidi, how are you? It's good to
Uh,
be back on your show. How's everybody
yes,
feeling there? Regards to supporters, members, families, and everyone out there who's been part of this journey since we started in 2008. I'm sorry, I said 2008. 2018 is when we all packed our bags and left for Nigeria and said we will go to our respective states, local government, the senatorial districts, and try to save our country. So now we have gone full circle. We ran for an election, but they didn't hold an election. And when we were running for the election, we made it clear that we came to change the country in fundamental ways that has never happened before. And now we've gone full circle, like I said, and I'm glad to be back to all of you. I see this channel as my own personal space, or our own personal space to interact with people who understand what we stand for, especially those who have been consistent, who have stood by us through thick and thin, when we were free and the time we were not free, when we were hungry, then when we were looking for help, support. They are there. They have always been there. They believe in us. And I'm glad to be back to them through your platform. Even though I am not completely free from these characters in Nigeria who are holding themselves to ransom. They are the ones on trial, like I've said. We are just witnesses to history to make sure that that trial is completed so that we can take our country back.
thank you, Omoyele Shore. And like you said, this is your base. The people who come to this channel, they are your people. They are people who are interested in you. Of course, we have other people who come from other places. They're not really interested in what we're doing, but they want to come and see. They know when they come to this channel, they will get the real gist. So, for the sake of people who really don't know where you're coming from, let me ask you, who is Omoyele Shore? Because a lot of people, they hear you from afar. They don't even know. It's just that they heard that they said that they said that they said. So who is Omoyele Shore?
I'm the guy who just came out of prison, who just came out of jail. So there was a guy who was politically uh, framed up by the Nigerian government, arrested in the middle of the night, and put in detention for close to 6 months for standing up for what is right, for asking for good governance in my country, and asking that our people deserve better than they're getting. That's who I am at this point. I don't want to go to Wikipedia so that we can have our conversation. Let's
Okay,
just
so
tell
so
people I watch that I'm the guy who just came out of jail. Yeah, a political prisoner.
all right. So, but before we move forward, I just want to just in 2 3 sentences. What's your passion? What's your outlook to life? Just a little bit of that background before we proceed.
You know, personally, I am saying it. I'm a very, very shy person. Most people don't believe this. You've seen some of it. I can be very laid back, to the point that, I sometimes if you see me, you think that this is not the person that I'm talking about. But I have this very strong belief that, individuals can make a difference in the world, and we are all here for a purpose that either, like Frax Fanon said, is either we fulfill it or we betray it. And I'm trying to fulfill my purpose in life, and I think my purpose in life is to lead uh, the next generation of liberation to victory. And I know a lot of people agree with me that this is not the situation we should be. and we can change the objective conditions of how we live now, how we move, how we breathe, and how we are governed. So that's as regards what people call passion. I think my passion is for justice, all forms of justice, social, economic, political, cultural, any kind of justice, natural justice, environmental justice. Yes,
You know,
that's
when
my
we
passion.
when we talk about, anytime we mention Shore, we think of activism, we think of solidarity forever. This government, that, but tell me about your kids. What's the relationship between you and your kids? Tell me about them.
This, we're cool. That's what I can tell you. We have a father-kid relationship that's it's really we discuss a little bit about everything. My daughter is a very, very smart kid. She asks me a lot of questions, and my son as well. And with me and my son, we go running because I run a lot. And he's a sportsman. He plays soccer, basketball. He does a lot of things. So, and like I said, we just cool. We're cool people. But as you can imagine, we haven't seen each other for a year now almost, and that has fundamentally turned us into a digital family. We talk over the phone and WhatsApp and FaceTime. So that's the hard part. Kids when they are growing up really love to have their dads around. But I've been around them. I'm just physically not around them. So, and I'm happy that they also understand very well what I'm doing. And as much as they ask when I'm coming home, they also ask, what's going on in Nigeria? Is everything going to be all right there? Are you going to make sure that things work and things like that? And I'm happy that, I don't have kids who are whining about my whereabouts only. They're worried about the future of other kids as well, because that's how they've been brought up to understand the world. That is not just about them alone. Uh, when they were younger, I took them to Nigeria and I brought them to Nigeria and took them to the village so that they could see the kind of life I used to live. I once told my daughter that I go fetch water every morning and she laughed at me. She said, how can someone put a big bucket on his head? You don't look like somebody who has been carrying buckets, otherwise, why do you have your hair? She laughed, but we went to the village and she saw people fetching water because there's still no water in my village after how many years? In Niger Delta region, lake is still there. We still fetch water from the lake. People still defecate in the lake, pee in the lake, fish in the lake. And when she saw it, she couldn't control herself. She jumped into the lake with her closed arm. That's where her DNA is. The
Oh
lake in my village.
wow, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. You see, I needed to bring out this aspect of you, because people think you're made of steel and emotions, just activism. But I can tell you, let me tell you something. The kind of impact that you have in kids, you may not realize it, especially the kids of these days. My children, they ask me every day, "What of Uncle Shore? When is he coming back? What's wrong with these people?" And you've inspired them. You see, my daughter, she says she wants to be the president of her school. She wants to be like Shore.
Absolutely. It's not just only our kids. I mean, when we were kids, we got inspiration from people who were doing the right thing. I had never I've never, I knew about Nelson Mandela when I was still in the village. I'd never even been to the city and had been like, that was 1977 and there, but I heard about Nelson Mandela because they talked about him on the radio. My dad used to have a shortwave radio. They talked about this Nelson Mandela guy and how Obasanjo wants to go and use juju to free him from South Africa. And I was thinking, no, maybe I could contribute to the juju as well and just fight these, white people who are holding him to ransom. And, so the same thing, our kids even get more information these days because they have access to the internet, they have
Yeah.
access to all kinds of platforms for communication and information. And my kids also participated in protests to get me released. So they know what it means to go out there and fight in the cold for a father who is in detention. So
Oh
next time
yes.
when someone is unjustly detained, and your kids did the same thing, several kids did the same thing. The ones that couldn't go, heard from their parents, Daddy, where are you going? I'm just coming. I just went to Showore's protest. So these kids are going to become the liberation generation that we're talking about.
For
They
sure.
will not become, they will not be the kind of kids who don't care about the future, who don't care about people, who don't care about issues.
Awesome, awesome. So, Omoyele Sowore, why are you like this? What is it? Why are you um, this kind of person who has a zero tolerance for a useless government? Why? What turned you into this?
Oh, I think I was, I was made into this by experience, by education, and I think by some, level of, I don't know how best to describe it, but I think that there's something about even when I was a kid that I'd always hated injustice. And my mother spoke about it when I was in detention. And my mother is a very, very meek woman. She doesn't like trouble. But I was her first child, and she knew since when I was little, one, that I liked people, when I was brought from where I was born, which was our village, to my own hometown. She said people, the moment I came, people just picked me up and they were passing me around, and she didn't see me for hours, and I didn't cry because I'm a people's person. But she also said and knew that I didn't like injustice since I was little. I just hated it. I hated teachers who were mean and wicked for no reason. I like teachers who were meant for purpose, to make sure that students don't misbehave, but teachers who just like to beat people up. I fought them since when I was in primary school, secondary school. I fought my principal. At the university, I fought the authorities because they were engaging in corruption and injustice against us. And as we were fighting against military rule, they wanted the military to continue because the military provided them money to steal. So that's always been my life. It's the way I have been wired, I think, since I was born. But also in terms of experience, the police brutality I faced when I was 10 years old, having gone through detention, and been through over maybe at this point 7 presidents that did really rubbish, and looking at a country that could have been one of the best countries in the world. I mean, one of the best six countries in the world because we've made money to that much money. Languishing and wallowing in poverty, in diseases, and general confusion and disorder makes me feel mad. It doesn't matter what you do to me. You can point a gun to me, you can detain me, you can do whatever you want. I just can't accept it. I've never been able to reckon with injustice simply because I'm being, surrounded or being made fearful. So whenever necessary, I just jump to the front lines and do what I think is necessary. And when I'm doing that, I don't look back.
Yeah, it's good you spoke about this because I know a lot of people who all they know about you, especially people in this generation, especially our youths within the age bracket of like 30, 25, and something like that, they don't know a lot. Of course, nobody talks history anymore in Nigeria. They don't know so much about your background, and all they can think about or talk about is like a couple of years back. But it's good they know that from your childhood, the kind of person you've been, this is who you have been all the time, all the time. So
Yes.
that's why I wanted to talk about this. But let me recount for us your memorable like moments in the struggle, like times that have left an indelible experience in your mind. Either doing just whatever it is, but moments that really they've stuck in your mind and they have changed the course of history for you.
And I tell you, so many of these things have happened so frequently. Uh, I think you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
If it happens so frequently, it's almost waste of time to be recounting them. But I remember when I was younger, the invasion of my village by the police had tremendous impact on me. My secondary school struggle when the principal used to flog girls, ask boys to carry them, and their underwear would show, and we wrote an article about it, and he hated us for it, but he stopped doing it. It was memorable for me. That was the first time I knew that writing an article could change the attitude of powerful people, because in my world in those days, the principal was the most powerful person. I even had encounters with my dad. My dad used to be my teacher in secondary school. One day we didn't pay PTA. He was in charge of flogging everybody. One of the teachers to flog people who didn't bring their PTA money. And he was my parent and my teacher. So when it was my turn, he said, "Come forward, OMOYELE SOWORE." I'm looking at him like, "What's wrong with you? You're supposed to pay the money." I was like, "Come, And I said, "Sir, no, you are my dad. You should have paid the PTA." But it was a dilemma for him. But he had to flog me because otherwise there would have been an uproar at his school. He did, just to make it sound like he said, "Oh, you didn't ask me." I said, "No, I don't used to ask you. This is where you work. This is where you should have deducted it from your salary."
Yeah.
And so to have an encounter with your dad is something big in our own society. So I've had all of that, and going to the university, of course, fighting against military rule and fighting alongside very powerful, very interesting people, heroes of democracy, standing with the likes of billionaires like Abiola, when I was a nobody and fighting for democracy, fighting with Femi Falana, Wole Soyinka, Beko Ransom Kuti, Gani Fawemi, Chima Ubani, Bamindele Aturu, Innocent Chukuma, uh, Baba Ye, all of these guys who Ken Sarawiwa in Niger Delta, all of these guys, the late Toronto Douglas, all these guys who fought for democracy, environmental rights, fighting for human rights in the country, and actually have gotten to the point where we change society for good from a dictatorship to democracy. You can excuse what they have turned it into now, but that wasn't what we fought for, and that's why we kept fighting all this while. So lots of them, fighting against, gangs when I was in the university who were carrying out oppression of other students. It was a lot, and each of these struggles, each of them, including up to fighting this civilian dictatorship we have now, almost always cost me my life.
Thank you.
So,
If you were the president of Nigeria right now, how would you handle this COVID-19?
you know, what has made a difference with COVID-19 for all countries around the world and how they're flattening the curve or combating it is decisiveness. And for you to be decisive as a leader, you must be aware of your environment. I don't think the leaders of Nigeria are aware of the environment they live in. In the first place, there was a case brought in by an Italian. An Italian guy, came. That was the big warning for us. He was caught on time, and the person who also got infected by him, one person, uh, was killed. So no casualties. That's the time to have closed down the borders. But the reason they didn't close down the borders? They had all these ministers, members of House of Representatives, senators abroad having fun, governors. So they won't close the border until they could return. The children of the president, one of his daughter was abroad. So they refused to close the borders and do the right thing, do the needful, so that Nigeria would not have experienced this kind of infection that we had. Even the chief of staff to the president traveled abroad, came back, didn't isolate himself, spreading it in like no man's business, traveling around the whole place. Even though he himself wrote a memo asking that people who are returning should self-isolate and submit to inspection at the airport. But all these guys were above the law, and they were running the country as they usually do, an animal farm, where some animals are more equal than others, right? So what I would have done would have been a decisive commander in chief who locks down the country after we found the Italian, and make sure that we make available policies that will ease the difficulty on the people. Provide food, make available transparently through a database that would have established a year ago for poor citizens and people who need unemployment support. Make sure that the economy doesn't bleed. You put a lead on uh, private sector, public sector, not to restrict our citizens, don't fire people anyhow, provide them support where necessary. And by now, we would have built hospitals, hired a lot of nurses and doctors. As soon as I came in, I know that, when I spoke on a program, somebody was complaining that I said I'll hire 600,000 doctors, nurses. And they had no understanding of how things work. We have 200 million people in this country, and the number of nurses we have per capita is not even enough, even if we have 600. The US has 320 million people. They have officially 2.6 million nurses. But truth is that some of the arguments they were making were ignorant. They were saying, how do you train nurses in 1 year? They don't know that there are 25 categories of nurses, 774 local governments. There are nurses you can train in 4 weeks. Some of them, those people who travel abroad can understand, because a lot of our colleagues, compatriots who travel to Canada, US, who become auxiliary nurses, they understand that it doesn't take 5 years to train. 3 months to become a nursing assistant. You can work with old people. You can work in a secondary school the same way you can become a teaching assistant. So you can easily hire 600,000 nurses. But we were saying that we'll hire 600,000 nurses over 4 years, 160,000 at first. And you don't have to be emergency room nurses. It will be the quick ones, and then we'll train, of course, the ones that need proper training. It takes time to train the high caliber or high cadre nurses. But people who make these arguments on Twitter, they don't understand some of this. And I'm not trying to insult anybody. They need knowledge. For some of them, just jump on assumptions, and they ask questions about how do you pay. During the campaign, we told people that we put in place a health insurance scheme, in which if everybody contributed just 500 naira, at 200 million people, you will have over 200 billion naira available just from the health insurance scheme alone. And you can get a card for 500 naira. And that is enough to do a lot of wonders. Of course, it also means that you plug the loopholes. No corrupt officials are allowed to take 200 million naira and hide it somewhere and build houses or mansions or even cities with them the way they are doing it now. These are these are people who want us to think that governance is rocket science. There are a lot of them on Twitter hired. Sometimes people don't know that they're hired by the Nigerian government to make you feel that it's impossible for you to govern Nigeria. Just give up. If you say we want to hire workers, how are you going to pay for it? If you say you want to do roads, how are you going to pay for it? How is Ghana paying for its road? How is Benin Republic paying for electricity? They make it look like rocket science. These things are not rocket science. But it will be rocket science to people who have analog brains, and that's what our leaders are today.
Yeah, honestly speaking, if this is what it takes to talk like a president, I'm wondering if you compare it to the president of Nigeria right now. This kind of thinking is I don't even know how to place it. Now let me ask you a question. You ran for
Yeah.
presidency in 2019, and a lot of people are clamoring for you to run for presidency in 2023. Going by what you saw, do you believe that if there was to be an election right now in Nigeria, that you will win the presidency, and why? Do you think you
Or
can
that,
or cannot?
but the key word is if there will be an election. Is the reason why I did not wait for 2023 before we started agitating to open up the democratic space. This present crop of leaders, policies that they put in place, laws that are put in place cannot guarantee free and fair election. Don't let us deceive ourselves. Except there is a showdown between them and the people demand that they want to be electing their leaders and not selecting, not people selected to govern them against their wish. And that's our position. There's no way you can have free and fair elections under the current system. They've written the results of 2023 already. So if you're just going to wait in one corner for 2023, well, I wish you good luck.
Ex-
It's, yeah. But if you fight now, open up the democratic space, make sure they respect our rights to select our leaders. It will be a walkover. And I'm not bragging. I was saying it when I was campaigning around the country, around the world in 2019, that there's no big deal about. And people admitted that we had some of the best manifestos. We campaigned with the best amount of zeal, stamina, energy, and intellect. Nobody has questioned that. We went everywhere. You witnessed that. We went everywhere without police, with no DSS, no Boy Scouts. Just we meet our people, we drive around, we drove around this country. That time was when I came to understand that Nigeria is not a big country. But people who believe that governance is rocket science will tell you Nigeria is big, is complex, is calculus, is arithmetic, is Pythagoras theorem. No, there's no big deal about the 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 breadth and and width of Nigeria or length of Nigeria is not something that anybody cannot handle. Is we can handle it easily, and we want to the world that we can run Nigeria better than it's been run in the last 60 years, and it's nothing to be ashamed of because it's doable.
Yeah, you see, I like that you spoke about this. You spoke about, look, listen, if we don't get rid of the system right now, if we don't clean it up, then anybody, nobody should expect anything good coming out of the system in terms of elections in the future. And this is my impatience with people who want to play the politics of Nigeria like the way it was done. I think when you came into the scene with Take It Back movement, with the AAC, the style of campaign, the style of raising fund and everything, a lot of young people didn't understand it because it wasn't like the old way of doing things. And right now, they are clamoring. They're saying, Shore 2023, printing posters, making suggestions, just trying to play the game like the old politicians. Like we are saying, the person you're saying, before you even get to 2023, with the way they are running the country, you're not even sure that you will last till 2023. And you are telling them that, hey guys, think about right now. This system is not working. Let's dismantle this system. And they're like, in fact, somebody said, Chidi, I pray that God will keep Omoyele Sowore for us for 2023. And I'm saying, between now and 2023, what are you doing to make sure that Omoyele Sowore is there by 2023? There are so many things you're not talking on, or you're not doing anything like.
We're, we're in the middle of 2020, all right?
Yeah.
We have 2021, we have 2022 before 2023. The word I'm hearing from some of our colleagues, and I don't blame them, we have to keep educating people, is that they just want to go to sleep and wake up in 2023. They expect to find Sowore on the podium being sworn in. Wishful thinking, positive thinking, right?
Exactly.
It's fantastic, but it's not going to happen without starting the fight now. That's why, as soon as the elections were over in 2019, based on what I saw, widespread poverty, corruption in the system, the deception, and the disrespect for our people and their human rights, I started the fight as soon as the elections were over. And I started sensitizing people to the fact that Nigeria needs to go a different direction. And some people were not happy with me. Even when I was arrested, they were supporting the government, but now they know better. Because I used to say that it's on record. You can find some of the clips on YouTube and Facebook as well. I said, if these people come back to power, a lot of people will not live to see many more years anymore. That some will not be able to practice even their religion. And immediately after the election, what happened? Look at Zamfara, Kaduna. Now the whole country is under the grip of a pandemic that we don't even know. Nobody can say for sure what is happening yet because Nigeria is not even testing. Even if you go by their testing statistics, they have tested only about 11,000 people. Out of that, 2,175 are already testing positive. That means 20% of the population is already, if you want to go by statistical data, could have been infected already. But we don't have testing kits because We are. Look at what Trump was saying the other day. He said Nigeria will die to get 200 ventilators from
Yeah.
him, and they're going to ship the ventilator. We don't even know when they will arrive. We haven't even checked if the ventilators work with our electrical grid. So maybe as soon as they bring them in and they plug them, the thing will just blow up. We don't know these things. Nobody's checking on that. We're just begging. We just say, oh, please give us ventilators. But if you had real government in place, how much is a ventilator? Maybe it's $20,000, $50,000. If you go around here in Abuja, every car driven by these thieves, they're up to 300,000 because they have to be bulletproof. So just 500 people could have bought Nigeria enough ventilators to go around all the hospitals that are available, or the best places that are available. So, it's a sham, and everywhere is in shambles. And
Now,
people are now talking about what we used to talk about more openly, more aggressively.
yeah,
Uh,
I
I,
can
I,
tell you.
I I posted a letter on my Facebook page today, written by a person from the UK. I took out the name because I didn't intend to shame it, but it was a touching letter. And he or she was saying that I was one of the people who was supporting your arrest and detention. But my recklessness, according to him or her, could have cost you your life because I was only believing what government was saying at that time. A lot of people have reached that point, where they've come to realize that they were wrong and they were right.
Oh
And
yes.
here we are.
Oh yes. Oh
Yes.
yes. I can tell you. Can tell you for sure. A friend of mine who has he has a channel on Facebook. He does live thing shows on. He's a big guy in Lagos. He owns a restaurant. Every time I came on his show, all these people will attack me. 2 days ago, when I came on his show, he stopped and he said, "Hey, Chidi, I want to apologize to you. I want to personally apologize to you and Omoyele Sowore and all the people in your team that I was one of the people who were attacking you, but right now, all the things you people were talking about is what is happening right now. All the things we were talking about, hunger in the land, no hospitals, no everybody. This COVID 19 has exposed it. So he was apologizing to me. So,
COVID-19 has exposed the underbelly of Nigeria completely. And this is what I've been saying. We said it. It's not, we weren't saying it because it was the sweet thing to say. We saw it. You and I traveled around. You traveled in your state. We traveled around the country and seen that there was nothing in the country. There's nothing in place to protect anybody. We didn't have hospitals. We didn't have roads. We didn't, even their so-called agricultural system that they had, it has exposed the lie. Their so-called strategic grain reserve that they claim they had, it has exposed. Where are the grains? The grains are the same imported rice that they claim they seized from land border that are all expired and are spoiled. That's what they are distributing. There's no government that can be more wicked than that because so you are locked down for COVID-19 or COVID 419, COVID-19, and then the government says, "Don't worry, stay at home. We'll send you rice," and you eat the rice, then the rice kills you because that's what they are doing. We don't know, and don't forget that malaria did not go on vacation. Childbirth and infant mortality rates have not gone on vacation. All these things are happening. So we're just getting more and more people dying on a daily basis without any commensurate response. And on top of that, the lockdown enforcement that they carried out killed more people than even COVID-19 the first week of COVID-19. Policemen, soldiers were just shooting people for no reason until we cried out and then they stopped that. So there's no respect for life. There's no respect for our existence. There's no respect for our rights by the current system. The system is so bad, it will be unpardonable to claim that you want to help reform a system that's ruined itself. The only thing we can do is to discard it.
all right.
You know, Nobody should be afraid to say that. And I
Okay.
tell people this. Yeah.
Let me digress a little bit. These are the kind of questions that people have been bringing to us, so we'll just go ahead and ask it. People have asked, that they've heard you talk about Niger Delta, and they are confused that are you Yoruba or are you Niger Delta, or they just want to clear that part.
It's I'm everything, you know. See, I don't debase myself by defining myself from a tribal, religious angle or affiliation. Uh, it doesn't seem like you're hearing me anymore. So what am I trying to say here is that I don't define myself from where I come from, or I tell people where I was born. I was born in Ondo State, which is the Niger Delta part of Ondo State. I grew up beside a lake. You know, I like Ghana music. You know, does that make me an Igbo? Probably yes. you know, uh, speak Yoruba. Does that make me Yoruba? Yes. Do I have a Yoruba sounding name? Absolutely. I served in Adamawa State, Yola. Does that make me Hausa because I hear Hausa small, small words, Hausa kada kada? Yes. But the most important thing is, am I a human being? Do I have the character, conviction, uh, and the will to do good for our people? I think that should be the qualification of a Nigerian leader because, look, we have tried our leaders. Or before we used to, when I was even younger, they said, oh, maybe if we have a Yoruba leader, things will be different. They brought Obasanjo. Look at where we are. They said, let's get a minority, Niger Delta man. They went and brought my job brother. Look at where we are. They said, maybe if we go back to the north and try a former military general, look at what happened. They say, oh, let's bring somebody who's educated. We got a PhD holder. Look at what happened. So we've gone through all these motions before, where people come from, who they are, the color of their eyes, the width of their nose, and these things have never changed our country. We should start looking for real human beings that can govern our country. The people who want to circulate power among themselves are doing it for their own pecuniary reasons. It's because we feel like it's national cake. It's time for us to just shift the cake on our side. So we can put our people in customs, put them in the army. Then when they remove that one will come and remove their own people too. Put his own people in the army, but the army doesn't change, the customs doesn't change, DSS doesn't change. It's the same character, behavior, abuse, and impunity. Because we are not changing institutions, we are just hiring people to fill positions. And that's what that's why this country, Nigeria, must stop doing. Now, it's the reason I don't pay attention to all this question of, oh, is Yoruba, is it Niger Delta? I'm everything. I'm from Yoruba, I'm from Niger Delta, I'm from the east too, I am from the north too, but what I'm not is the things that are wrong with Nigeria in the past.
Okay, so tell me about Nnamdi Kano. Tell me what you think about Nnamdi Kano, about Biafra. What's your view?
Oh, I've expressed this. I've met, you and I met Nnamdi uh, Kano in New York, and it was part of the reason why they claimed that they were charging me. In fact, after I was abducted in court, they went and prepared fresh charges that me and Nnamdi Kano killed some policemen in Anambra, while I was in detention. You couldn't believe it. These were the fresh charges they were supposed to file after I was abducted in court. But I think somebody within their midst told them that this might sound a little bit too stupid, and because of pressure from all of you, and they couldn't carry that out. But I explained to Kano and you were there that, look, I'm not opposed to any part of Nigeria becoming better than, going at their own pace. But what I know is that there is something logical about understanding that even if you succeed and you become this El Dorado, Christmas tree at night, the rest of Nigeria will just be looking at you. So I know people will be hungry, or they see Biafra is doing very well, they'll just be looking at you with hunger. You'll be surrounded and they'll take over Biafra, not from you, but they will bring the Nigeria to Biafra. They'll come and meet you there. I've used the example of the US. Whenever Cubans are hungry, Haitians are hungry, they get on rickety boats with all the US forces. They will overwhelm them and enter the US. When Mexicans are hungry, they dig hole under the wall, to enter the US. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop migration simply by, decreeing that you don't want to see certain faces in your country. Uh, and I also mentioned to Nnamdi Kanu to look at the number of very, very rapacious politicians who are coming in from Nigeria into Biafra as well. He did think that they are going to sit down and just be watching him. So what did I say? I proposed to him that we should have a joint revolution for the country, and get justice for everybody in current Nigeria, Biafra, Arewa, Odu, anywhere they might be. Because what we haven't tried as a country is practice justice within this geographical space called Nigeria. And until there's justice, you can't tell, what Nigeria could be. You'll be surprised if we have a good president today. Everybody will forget about their agitation for, marginalization and things like that. I also put something on my Facebook page today, and I was saying it. When Kanu, I told Kanu also when we met, I said, you think you are the only people who want to secede? You'll be surprised. A lot of people have mentally seceded from Nigeria. They are just trapped. I'm telling you, they have left. They're just here because they can't physically move. It's not Biafrans alone. Nobody likes to be in an unjust and suffocating space. No human being, like even goats, dogs, they don't like to live in Nigeria because this is not a habitable place for any living thing. I'm telling you. And it's because of the way the country has been mismanaged. And I'm glad that I'm hearing recently that Kanu is also calling for a revolution.
Yeah.
I told him, when you get to Biafra, if Biafra becomes a nation, you will discover that you need me more than you need me in Nigeria. Now you'll be looking for Sowore. Come and tell me how to do revolution in this place, because all the bastards who used to work inside Nigeria, who are now Biafrans, when they come back home, now go hear the same thing for old pride, the same thing I told them. Because I've been around for 30 years. I knew what Yoruba people did to Abiola, how they sold him out. Some of them were even in the daytime, they would be praising him. They then go to Abacha and collect money, go to Babangida and collect money. The same way, these people also are present in Biafra, they are present in Arewa. But if all the young people can join hands together and fight for a country of our dream and start managing it going forward, you'll be surprised that all these problems that you see, a lot of these problems you see that is affecting Nigeria today, they are artificial problems created by our leaders or misrulers.
Thank you, Omoyele Sowore. Let me tell you something that nobody can deny, unless that person is not sincere to themselves. Prior to your meeting with Nnamdi Kanu, I knew there was a lot of animosity, there was a lot of confusion, there was a lot of misunderstanding, especially amongst young people, both from the Biafra agitation and those from the other side. But after you guys meet, a lot of people didn't even think it was possible. But at your instance, that meeting was arranged. And after that meeting, it changed a lot of perspective. And that was actually the meeting that got the Nigerian government crazy and running hectare skelter.
Let me explain something to you, right? You see, there are very original Biafran agitators. But when PDP lost out, there were also some people who used to be in PDP who also, out of annoyance, joined the Biafran agitation.
I know.
So those ones are the ones that were fueling the crisis, this whole illusion that Sowore is against Biafra, as if Jonathan is in Nnamdi Kanu. Because I was opposed to Jonathan. Even though I had supported Jonathan coming to power when Yaradua people.
Sorry. I want to let me. Sorry. I'm cutting you. I want to frame this better so you can answer it. Now, a lot of people claim that this Sowore is so one-sided. He's so tribalistic. Look at, he's always fighting people who are not from the east. He's always fighting people who are from the east. He fought Jonathan. There was nothing good. But is it really true? Did you just focus on, or are there other past presidents that you fought?
Yeah. So is Buhari from the east?
But they
So
said
I,
that. But they said you're the one that elected Buhari.
that's a lie, obviously. I fought against Obasanjo, who's is he from the east? Even though some people claim that Obasanjo is from the east, I didn't know.
I heard that his father is Igbo.
Yes. But I fought against Obasanjo when he was doing third term. We fought to frustrate his third term admission. So, people say all these things based on their lack of understanding. And like I said, a lot of it is colored by partisan uh, involvement of some of the people. They just like to weave all kinds of stories. They used to claim that I work for Tinubu. When I went to Toronto, I spoke openly about who Tinubu is and who I am. No one of them have been able to question it. You organized the Toronto town hall meeting. Somebody stood up in the crowd there, or the town hall meeting, and pointed his finger in my face that you work for Tinubu. You remember the guy?
I know.
And when I answered the thing and I said to him, if everything I say here can be disputed in another month, I will quit the presidential race. It has been 2 years almost now, and nobody has disputed things I said about Tinubu. They know these things. They have the facts that I don't have relationship. You see, but it's also comfortable to them for them to sell all kinds of lies, so that some they know that a lot of people can be gullible about it. A lot of people are emotional about these issues. But do you know where we are today? Whether you are PDP before, or those of the APC that have been used and dumped, or you are my Biafra brother or Yarewa, all of us have come to a conclusion now that is a losing game for our own existence.
Just for
So
the
we better,
records,
yes.
just for the records, what role did you play when Yaradua died? And they were, there was this stalemate, where they didn't say he was dead. There was a vacuum created. What was your position then?
It wasn't that what I was. I was the source of most of the information. I won't say all, most of those. There were other media houses that was made available to the public about his condition, to the point that the Jonathan that everybody is talking about, they contacted me and said, "Are you sure that the man is not coming back?" So that no, actually sent a message through Ronto Douglas saying, "You guys should be preparing for the presidency." This was 4 months before Yaradua died. I said, Yaradua is brain dead. They didn't believe me. I did a story on it of Sahara reporters, and it came to pass. To the point that they reached out to me and said I should come back home. They want me to come and work for them, work with them. I said, I'm not interested. I don't want to work. I cannot last working for people, the kind of politicians in Nigeria. I can't last 2 days in any cabinet. It doesn't matter what position you give, because I will say my mind and you will hate me and you will fire me, and people will be wondering, what did you go to do there in the first place? I don't have the temperament to work with thieves. I knew the kind of people surrounding Jonathan. I have said it. What the first official act that Jonathan carried out in office was to give the presidential jet to his wife, Patience, and they went with Bola Shagaya to Lebanon to buy gold. That was their first official act outside the country. We reported it. I said, these people, they are going to finish Nigeria. And I started fighting them from that moment on. I started fighting the Buhari regime so the day he was sworn in, because I was at the swearing in ceremony. The country had no government. They thought that somebody else was still in government. I said to everybody, I didn't grant an interview in Punch at that time. And this is what I've done consistently for 30 years, always fighting on the side of what is right. So everything I did for Jonathan, I didn't do it for myself. I did it for my conscience, I did it for my country, you know. And it is very, very important that people know that. But so many people, I'll tell you this, so many people know it. They know that, these things that I'm telling you are true. But it's convenient for them politically to change the narrative
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sell it to a lot of gullible people. And there are people who can. There was a reporter who swore one day on Facebook that he saw me at Tinubu's house. One swore that he saw me at Shegun Oshoba's house during one election. I've never been to Tinubu's house in my life. Never been to Shegun Oshoba's house in my life. They'll swear. Some swore that I'm a U.S. citizen, that they have seen my passport before. People swear to all kinds of things. meet people who swear, even when they don't know who I am, that they went to school with. When I asked them which year did I graduate, did Sowore graduate, they will say 2012. I mean 2002. And I graduated in 1994 from the University of Lagos.
It's true.
Probably.
Now, tell me about. Let's talk about African Action Congress. You started the Take It Back movement that metamorphosized into the African Action Congress. Now, a lot of people have said, "Oh, you know what? AAC is dead. There's trouble in it." What's? I want to hear it from you. What is the situation with AAC?
AC cannot die, it's not dead. You see, after the election, they were surprised at the power and the punch we packed in bringing about a political party that was less than a year how it shook the country. Remember, AAC was denied even participation in the presidential election. They didn't want to register us because they had thought that all the parties we wanted to join, they went to those parties and discouraged them from adopting us. All the parties were bought over. And when we had AAC, after the election, they started targeting AAC first. Targeted AAC. AAC was targeted by both PDP and APC. And in Rivers State, APC went and paid money to get AAC to play dirty role. We denounced it immediately. And when those ones went to court, that's Amici people, Wike also gave money to some guys who were in AAC that we had expelled. Went and looked for, judges, bought judgment, and claimed that they are in charge of AAC. When they discovered that claiming that they own AAC did not work, they got me arrested as a way of hoping that if I'm taken away, they will be able to consolidate their hold on the leadership. When I came out, even before I came out, our members, and you have to be proud of AAC members, did not flinch. They did not get discouraged. They did not even bother. They did not even. The people who claim they are in charge of AAC know that they are not in charge of AAC. And they went and paid the media. They did all the propaganda they can do. AAC is no longer in Sowore's hands. That is the natural way they respond to powerful political parties in Nigeria. They try to penetrate, infiltrate, and try to destroy. Now that they discover that they can't, you will find that they will do other things. But what I can assure you is that AAC is ours, not mine alone. Is that we founded AAC. AAC is our party. And why I'm not focusing on AAC is that the bigger Nigerian project is a bigger issue is a bigger fish to fry right now. When we want AAC, the state levels will take care of control, and AAC will be back to the original owners. So let whomever is playing with AAC now, people are using it to chop. Let them hit him. AC is our party. Nobody can take a party, It happens in every progressive party. You find elements who are sponsoring there, Even the ANC has suffered such before. If you go to EFF in South Africa, there was a time that Malema faced, internal rebellion from people who were sponsored by the government. Any progressive party will suffer that. There's no question about that. So, but people should not worry. What is important is what we are doing now. AAC is just a small part of that package, and AAC is part and parcel of it, fully part and parcel of it. Nobody can take the party away from us. It's our party. Except we are tired of the party and we want to go through another vehicle, but it's not happening. It's our party.
Yeah, I asked from the national organizing secretary, and I was assured that AAC is also participating in the coming elections. That so it looks like everything is okay.
So, in those states, for example, AAC is participating. Like in Benue State, we're participating. Look, and these are original people that are participating there. So the people who claim they're in charge of AAC have found out that they have no control over AAC, and that's what we told our members across the state. It's your party. Take control of it. Take charge of it, and it's as simple as that. As long as you're in charge of your party, and if somebody claims now that they own your house and they don't have, even if they have the deeds, stolen from somewhere or forged from somewhere, and they cannot move into the house, what value of it, what value is their claim of ownership? And they can't make you. It's all part of, what the agenda there has been to make sure that the kind of positive force we represent in Nigeria today They've tried everything to suppress it since we started talking about the election. It's the reason why they didn't allow us to participate in the debate, presidential debate. Is the reason why they never gave us the votes that we got. Even in places where elections held, people voted for us massively. But they knew that if they gave us our votes, even in areas where elections were manipulated, that it would be an embarrassment to them. So they sat down in INEC office and allocated to themselves some
Yeah.
votes so that they can bring that to say, oh, Sowore is not popular. You see, he was rejected in the polls. 33,000 votes.
You're even talking about in my own is it ward in my own ward where I voted, where my uncles and my aunties voted. I think they gave me 2 votes. That means me and one more person.
So you know how these things are, but it's the reason why we have to clean up the country and clean up the electoral process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
new people to run for election and win or lose elections, not to be rigged out of election or manipulated out of it even
For
before the
sure.
election is over.
For sure, for sure. Omoyele Sowore, you convened revolution now, and the government went berserk. They were running up and down. They say you were going to overthrow the government, blah blah blah. They got you locked up. They tried all kinds of things. The wrath of the international community came upon them. What is the status of things right now? I know you're restricted in Abuja. We saw you in court 2 days ago. So, what's the updates with that issue?
We went to court to ask the court to remove the conditionalities of the bail granted so that I could, if I want to leave Abuja and freely travel. I committed no crime. Everybody knows it. That's why they had to come to court and remove most of the charges. Initially, they accused me of money laundering. They said I insulted the president. Cyber act. I violated the Cyber act. When we told them to come to court, to come and that they should bring the president to court to come and tell the court how he heard that I insulted him, considering that he has ear infection. They removed that charge. um, so when they knew that there was no money laundering, of course they wanted to use that to confuse the public. It's like to say sure he's involved in money laundering and all of that. And then now they have reduced it to treasonable felony. We're fighting it, and then COVID-19 came. Even when when they came for testimonies, their testimonies were not coherent. The only person testified from DSS. I don't want to waste my time discussing this. Well, this is well covered by the media, but I don't want us also to forget that we have a focus, which is to make sure that we move this country or our space, our humanity, in direction of real progress.
That's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask what is the next? What's next for people who look up to you, people who you motivate, people who you inspire? What should they be doing? What's the way forward now?
They should be conscientizing, educating, and organizing, and moving to the barricades. And when I say barricades, it is not direct physical action alone that is barricade. Barricades is also social media, where don't let them get away with a lie if you can. You must have noticed that even their paid trolls, people who used to be resident trolls on our pages, these days they feel overwhelmed because people are more and more angry. And when people are angry and awake and they step up, their 50 trolls cannot handle 200,000 people. They run away. And let's just keep mobilizing, and keep talking about the issues that are relevant. And someday we will keep giving instructions on our end too. And a lot of activities are happening. We are reconnected with a lot of our bases, and people are also connected back to us. A lot of people, and I'll say this, I know we're supposed to do this for an hour, have another event. A lot of people are back on our side. We must make sure that every soul that is looking for progress is captured now. Talk to them. Don't get upset. Explain things to them. Educate them. Even when people come at you in a way that you don't like, give them education first before you turn it to basketball, as they call it. Because sometimes a lot of these guys that you see who are there, they don't understand what's going on. Some of them do, some of them don't. We just need to make sure that we keep a lot more people on our side, and you'll be surprised how well we can do sooner than we even would imagine. And we will keep talking to you. We will keep reaching out, even if I get rearrested or detained. There are enough people who will be talking to you, even if I'm not there. My spirit will be talking to you all the time. You'll be getting the messages and keep acting on them. And like I said, keep supporting each other, keep educating each other, keep reaching out to people. And by very soon, you'll be surprised at how far we can go and we should have gone. Nothing, when people said maybe my arrest slowed things down, I don't think so. I think arresting me actually helped a lot of people to see the lights. My arrest lasted for about 5, 6 months. And then the bigger awareness that could come to people who didn't believe in what we were saying came through COVID-19. And, the ancillary issues that came out of it, which are the issues we have been talking about consistently. And, because COVID-19 exposed everything we had, all the flaws that we have always talked about and all the issues we had always wanted to resolve. COVID-19 addressed it conclusively.
All right. Thank you so much, Moyele Shore. It's really an honor, like always. And just let you know, this is one channel that will always keep people posted about what is going on. And because of the kind of person you are, we will always stand behind you. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go because I know you have another engagement. And on behalf of all our listeners, we want to say thank you very much and stay safe.
Thank you so much. Let me use this opportunity to say thank you to all our people. We want them to keep safe. Make sure that you're doing everything necessary to keep safe so that we can meet soon and we can beat not only COVID-19 but also COVID 419. You know, which is a local version of a government pandemic that is affecting Nigeria.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye. Okay, guys. So that's